Good morning and welcome. We're so glad to have you with us today for a webinar as part of our Learn and Grow series with the Kansas Area United Methodist Foundation. And we're so glad to have you with us this morning. So thank you for taking time away from your busy schedules. We're grateful for you. So today, this morning, we're going to be talking about the basics of Social Security and retirement taxes. This is actually part one. So part two, if you're not already aware, will be on April 13th. So just in a few weeks, Ken Sokol will also be doing part two on April 13th, and that will also be from 10 to 11 a.m. So if you're not already registered for part two, please go ahead and do that. And with that, my name is Sarah Diamond. I serve as the Director of Legacy Giving with the Foundation. Now I want to share with you just a very brief overview of the foundation. The foundation works with United Methodist churches, families, and organizations to provide resources, education, planning, and financial management services. We work with individuals and families by helping them give generously now, and also through their estate plan to leave a lasting legacy for generations to come. Now I'd like to introduce our staff. So we have Gloria Marcus with us today. She's our finance director. We also have Joanna Trapp. Joanna is our communications associate. And now I'd like to introduce to you our president and CEO, Dustin Petz. Dustin is going to introduce our speaker and open us in prayer today. Dustin?
Thank you so much for being here. It's our great joy to host this time and to share. So as Sarah shared, thank you very much. Our presenter for today and for in a few weeks in April for the second part is Ken Sokol. You might have gotten a chance to read a little bit of his biographical information on our promotional piece, but if not, he served as a senior industrial engineer for 29 years with Hallmark Cards in the Kansas City metro area. Then put his technical skills towards financial planning. Ken has an MBA and completed the financial planning course of study with UMKC. He wrote retirement and investment newsletters for 16 years and is co-authored papers with Professor Randy Gardner of UMKC addressing Social Security and retirement distribution planning, and plus some other white papers and booklets. He currently serves in a Washington, D.C. task force for the National Academy for Gardner of UM. 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 Gardner of UM.
I'm glad to share a little bit of the things I've learned. Just for informational purposes, I'm not employed or associated with the IRS, Social Security Administration, or anyone in the government. I do serve with some of these folks on a committee in Washington, D.C. The information we're providing is just really the basics, so you may want to talk to a financial advisor or the Social Security Administration for more details specific to your situation, which is can be quite different than the next person sitting next to you. So let's go on. Social Security came out of legislation under the kind of the New Deal under Franklin Roosevelt, 1935 Social Security Act. At that time, it was just individual benefits, but from this you can see the changes that have happened over the last 70, 80 years. In 1939, survivor and spousal benefits came about. The first benefit check did not go out until 1940. COLAs, the first COLA came 10 years after that in 1950. Disability in 1954 was added. Early retirement that we see now started in 1960. Cost of living adjustments in 1975 were automated. A number of amendments to tax portions of Social Security because actually back in 1983, they saw the funding problems of Social Security. That occurred under President Reagan. In 1993, under President Clinton, they increased the taxing of Social Security, again with that tax to reinforce the trust fund. So again, they saw the forthcoming deficits in the Social Security program. In year 2000, they eliminated the pension offset based upon work-related income, and that was in 2000. And again, in 2015, there was a moratorium on a program called File and Suspend and spousal-only benefits. These are only the major pieces of legislation because there are actually multiple changes going on almost every year in the obscure details within the Social Security program. But it is a dynamic benefit, and there are changes that we need to keep aware of. Go ahead. As you saw from this other slide, we talked about disability, survivors benefits. Today, there's over 64 million people in the country that are receiving the benefits of Social Security, from survivors to dependent children to disabled. But the retirees and retiree benefits for their children and spouses constitute 75% of the Social Security program. Many people try to evaluate from a personal basis, all the money I paid in is not giving me back a good return on my money. Well, they may not realize that there's other benefits that they may never have received. For instance, from Social Security as a disabled individual or as a survivor. So very difficult to assess your personal return on investment, so to speak, realizing that there's lots of other benefits that they may not have enjoyed or need to take advantage of. The next slide. This is the latest information that we have from Social Security. The trustees are given a annual report that includes a 75-year projection. But based on the last year's information, we can see that almost $1 trillion from workers' contributions went into the trust fund, realizing that half of that is usually from your employer and half of it's coming off of your paycheck. The money that's in the trust fund does earn interest usually from U.S. Treasury notes called an interagency investment. The tax on benefits, half of the money or most of the money that's being taxed, the taxes come into the Social Security program. Some of it will go also to the Medicare trust fund. On the far right side, we can see the benefits paid out, a little more than $1 trillion going out to the beneficiaries. The administrative expenses, some $6 billion, less than 1%. The trust fund at the end of 2019 was approximately $2.9 trillion. That was a very slight, modest, almost insignificant increase based upon the prior year. So, going forward, this number is going to be decreasing. Number of people have talked about the trust fund going broke, or this program going broke. What's going to happen over the next 14, 15 years is this trust fund, the balance of the trust fund is going to go away. And the next slide will show you what it may look like in 2034. The next slide, here we go. Workers' contributions in 14 years or 13 years, going to go up by almost 50%. The interest or the earnings on the trust fund are go down to a very small amount because of its depletion. The tax on benefits, and this will be discussed more in the second session, but the tax on benefits are going to go up significantly because the thresholds for determining the tax are fixed. They're not indexed to go up each year with inflation. So if we look into the trust fund at the end of 2034, $26 billion is just a little more than 1% of the benefits that goes out. So that with that depletion, again, the trust fund will be depleted. The expectation is that the money on the coming in will supply only 75 to 80% of the benefits. So if we look at the let's say $1.5 trillion coming in and a 2.3 going out, that's about 75%. The government hasn't spelled out what will happen at that time, but the bottom line is the money coming in will only pay 75 to 80% of the benefits that have been earned, so to speak. So it's going to be coming out of one hand and going into the other with no trust fund in the middle. We'll talk a little bit more about this in the second session. The fix for this is, unfortunately, the government's studied this with over the last 25, 30 years. We know what has to be done. It's a problem with congressional approval to make changes. One side doesn't want to increase the taxes. The other side doesn't want to decrease the benefits. So politicians are on one side or the other of the fence, and addressing this has just been a stalemate for the past several years. Let's go on to the next slide. The funding, as you saw, that there's almost $1 trillion going into the trust fund right this year. Here's the source. The source is that FICA that comes out of your paycheck. For the self-employed, which would include pastors, we've got 15.3%. We double that because both halves come out of the individual's paycheck. Of that 7.65, 6.2% up to the threshold is for Social Security, 5.3% for old age and survivors, that's the retirement side, 0.9% go into the disability insurance. If you go back to don't go back to the last slide, but on that last slide, I combined Social Security and disability into one trust fund. There has been 3 or 4 times in the last several years where the disability trust fund diminishes, and disability and Social Security can pull from each other's trust fund. So typically, more often than not, we look at both the disability and Social Security as a combined fund, whereas Medicare stands on its own. And there's similar funding issues with Medicare. Medicare isn't funded totally by contributions coming from FICA. The government subsidizes that, so it's a whole nother issue. We can go on to the next slide. One of the major things that have happened in the country that has an impact on funding of the trust is the number of workers compared to the number of beneficiaries. In 1945, there were 42 workers paying in for each beneficiary. 1950, just 5 years later, that was 17 to 1. We're now around 3. 2008, it was 3.3. By 2035, there's going to be 2.3 workers paying in for each beneficiary receiving benefits. That's probably one of the more significant factors. There are others that the government's well aware of. Part of it is that in the 50s and 60s, 90% of wages were taxed to go into the Social Security Trust Fund. Now, because of the disparity between people that are very high income, that are beyond the threshold for, they don't have to pay Social Security on a large portion of their income. So today, the taxation of workers' pay is only 80% of all the wages going out. So there's disparity. That's one aspect, as well as the demographics. But the demographics certainly has probably the major impact on these trust funds. Okay, the next slide. Social Security was never meant to be a complete retirement package. It was meant to be a bottom line benefit to assure that there was at least a minimum amount being received. The Social Security Administration say that retirement should be a three-legged stool, from employer benefits to personal savings to Social Security. I do taxes for AARP, and where we serve did prepare taxes for lower income people, and I see a lot of people that Social Security is all they're living on. So I think that statistics say that for 65% of the retirees, that Social Security is their the major portion of their retirement. But anyway, and we're trying to shore this up. To the task force that I'm working with is, how do we address this? Can we improve the situation? But the benefit from coming from Social Security is what we call a progressive benefit. So on a low income, on a very low income basis, it's replacing 57% of your income. So if your salary pre-retirement was $20,000, your benefit in retirement might be only a little over $15,000 to $16,000. As you progress up for your personal income, if your income's near $80,000, you could only expect that Social Security benefits to replace 33% of that. So it is a progressive, and it raises some real questions. If we increase the threshold, today you only have to pay taxes on $127,000 of your income. If we increase that to over $200,000 to try to increase the funding, what happens to this? It may skew this chart, but that we'll have to wait and see what kind of legislation comes out. Okay, the next slide. One of the benefits of Social Security, almost that annuities and other pensions typically do not provide, is a cost of living adjustment. 100% of your benefit, Social Security benefit, will be adjusted annually with a cost of living adjustment. Prior to this century, Social Security, as of 1975, when it became automatic to 2000, was always increasing. We've had a couple instances in this century that where there was no benefit, and I'll show you that on the next slide. And I think we skipped one there. Oh, maybe it's not in. Anyway, let me say that in 2018, for instance, you can see how the consumer price index dipped. In that year, there was no COLA increase because the consumer price index went down. They do not decrease your benefit when the cost of living decreases, but they hold it, they freeze it until it increases. The heavier shaded dots in here is the third quarter. They take the average increase from the third quarter of the current year, compare that to next year, and that's the basis of the increase. That methodology has changed a little over time, but it's been pretty consistent for the last, I think, 15 years. One of the things that we look at as for retirees, there's been an argument based upon statistics that the cost of living adjustments received by retirees is not reflective of the cost of living that they receive. The retirement, the expenses in retirement for retirees is greater for housing and medical. And based upon that, they've started tracking what they call CPIE, not for consumer price index for the elderly, and where they look at the cost of living adjustments or cost of living increases for those over 65, it's about 10% greater than the normal cost of living. So over time, while you're in retirement, your Social Security does not reflective of all the increases that you see. So when I say a 0.3% difference, that means that if the COLA for the national population is 3%, the cost for elderly is 3.3%. So we're losing ground every year in retirement, and that's one of the things that we hope to change. Okay, go on. As you, I think it was in the Social Security Act, I think in 1960, where it allowed people to retire earlier. They've moving around the retirement age benefit. You'll see on another slide, if you retire early, you can take a lower benefit. If you retire later, you take a higher benefit. But behind that is what we call full retirement age. So that if you were born in 1937 or earlier, full retirement age was 1965 or age 65. With the Reagan changes to Social Security, they said, let's move people are living longer. Let's move the retirement age from 65 up to 67. That's been a 25-year change. The change is taking place over a 25-year period. So somebody born 1960 or later, their full retirement age is 67. This, in fact, is for those that are receiving benefits those born 1938 or later are having a reduction of benefits as a result of this impact. One of the problems with this is there are a number of people in the country whose work-related issues suggest that our bodies may not allow us to can stay in our our current work just because of the physical impact on our bodies. So while we're moving up this for the general population, there is a significant portion of the population that pushing their retirement to a higher and higher age is very problematic. And it's another issue that we're trying to address. Let's go on to the second slide. Next slide. Now, to qualify for Social Security benefits and takes a minimum of 40 work credits. You can get 4 credits per year. So that means that you're going to have to work at least 10 years to collect enough credits to qualify for benefits. There's been a lot of discussion around the country about immigrants receiving, Social Security. Well, those immigrants have to have been here for at least 10 years and acquired 40 credits and paid into the system over that period of time. I think the credits started being used in the early 1950s, and I think it started out at $300 per credit. Now you're almost $1,500 per credit. So this means that if you've earned $6,000 in 1 year, you can collect 4 credits. You do that 10 times over, you qualify for personal benefits. Another misconception, and this was reinforced by my brother-in-law. He said, well, I understand that my benefit's going to be based upon my earnings in my last few years of employment. And I had to tell him, no, they look at the best 35 years of your earnings. They go back and look at all of your earnings. They readjust those numbers to make it look like current dollars, and then they take the best 35 years. One of the things that may happen is that you may want to continue working past age 62 or past the start of your Social Security benefits. And only when one of those years has earnings greater than the previous 35 years will it increase your benefits. We'll go on to the next slide. Based upon an individual working the maximum taxable earnings and starting in 1981, here's how they accumulate their benefits. So the first 5 years, they would have earned enough for a $931 retirement payment per month. Of course, with 5 years only, they haven't qualified. They don't have 10 years under their belt. But after 10 years, working at the maximum level, they would have accumulated $1,824 benefit. And then as they continue to work and they get up to 35 years, their benefit could be $2,882 a month. If they put in another 5 years of work at the maximum level, notice that their benefit goes up only $35 that year. All preceding years, their benefit was increasing by $200 or 10% a month. But once they get past 35 years, they're only replacing another year's benefit, so that it's not a substantial increase. At 35 years, those additional years were replacing zeros in the calculation. But once you reach 40, you're replacing another year's income. So the benefit's tailing off for the money you put in. The benefit's not as great. Going to the next slide. Lifetime value. When I first started working on this, a lot of financial planners 10 years ago wrote off Social Security. Well, if it's still there, it'll be an added benefit to your savings, your IRAs, your pension, et cetera. But when I put this together and say, okay, most people are going to work 30 years in their career. At 30 years, accumulation of benefits you're looking at a $1 million lifetime benefit. And this is not at the maximum level. This is more like an average worker in the United States with a $2,000 a month COLA for 2.6% a year. That's an accumulated benefit over their lifetime of over $1 million. So it's not anything to sneeze at. And there's ways that we can improve on that to increase that benefit. Going to the next slide. Delaying retirement benefits. Benefits are promised for your life so that the longer you live, the more you receive over your lifetime. If you retire early, which we call early is before your full retirement age, benefits are reduced. After full retirement age, your benefits can go up 8% per year. For me, my full retirement age was 66. So a 4-year delay was a 32% increase in my benefit. The benefits are calculated when you turn age 62. They create what's called your primary insurance amount. That's the amount that you would receive at your full retirement age. And we'll talk more about that in the calculations later. Social Security states that regardless of when the average person starts taking benefits, the lifetime payout is the same. What they're saying is that whether you start at 62 or you delay till 70 or anywhere in between, if you live the average life expectancy at that time, you would have received the same benefit irregardless of what your start date was. I'll have a chart on this a little bit later. A significant risk for the baby boomers is that we may live too long. By that, I mean that our benefits from other savings, IRAs, may be depleted long before that we expire. I think one statistic that they often state is that between two people, a couple age 65, there's a 50% chance that one of them will live into their 90s. Statistically, that's based upon history. But as I've traveled the country and talked to people, I think that a good portion of those in the United States are going to live well beyond the life expectancy tables, primarily based upon new practices in medicine, the fact that we're more aware of your heritage or what in your family is causing, your parents to die, dying from cancer, dying from work-related injuries. And I personally think that I'm not going to die from the same causes that my parents died from. And so my life expectancy, I would expect to be greater, much greater than my parents. All the statistics that they're working with are primarily based upon history. And I think going forward that the baby boomers are going to blow away the life expectancy tables. The new life expectancy tables put out by the government go to 120. Next slide. So here's the impact for an individual if they were to start at age 62. A lot of people in the past, it was predominantly, I'm going to take my benefit now because I may not live long enough to enjoy it, so you're going to start early. Well, based upon your age and your full retirement age, here's the impact to your benefits. So currently, we're looking at people in the mid to late 50s that are going into retirement. If they retire at 62, look at what's happening to those benefits. They're talking, 20 to, on this chart, 25 to 30% reduction in lifetime benefits. The average life expectancy for somebody that turns 62 today is into their mid to low to mid 80s. Women have a little bit longer life expectancy, a year or so greater than men. Which is their life expectancy is estimated to be 84 to 85, where men are 83 to 84. The next slide. If on the other side, the other extreme, if an individual waits to age 70, here's the increase in benefits. Now, I'm an early baby boomer, so I was in the 43 to 54 age bracket. My benefit at age 70 was adjusted up 32% because of the changes going on in the full retirement age. That will be only 24% for somebody that's born 1960 or later. Next slide. This is a chart, and it may be difficult for some to understand. To me, I look at it and it answers a lot of questions. Early on, before I went retirement, I was looking for some kind of information like this to try to figure out when I could retire or should retire. What this shows, here's an individual that they quit working at age 62. And their benefit at age 62, well, I take that back. They were working to age 65. The PIA, the third column over from the left, their primary insurance amount went up as they were working each year till it got to 2000, and they quit working. And their PIA, or primary insurance amount, stayed the same. But even though they may not have started Social Security, your benefit amount will go up each year, even after you quit working and maybe not have collecting benefits, but it's being adjusted each year for inflation. What that meant is if this person took their benefits at age 62, they would have started out with $1,368. If that person at age 70, after all the cost of living adjustments, would then be receiving $1,713. And that's just from the cost of living adjustments. If that person started at age 63, their benefit would have been a little bit higher. Now you can, so if you go to the top of age 63 from 2018, $1,531 they would have received, compared to the person that started earlier, they're going to get almost $100 more. And then you can see what happens by age 70. That number would have been $1,828 right there. Yes, that's it. So you can see that person at age 60, starting with 63, is still receiving $100, more than $100 more than the person that started at 62. Well, let's go all the way. Let's say this person does wait till age 70. Their benefit based upon their starting age was 130% higher. And that person would receive $3,017 at age 70. So, but realize that person has given up receiving benefits for 8 years. So you say, well, that person's given up, several thousands of dollars, in the tens of thousands of dollars to take that benefit at age 70. There can be many different things. That person could have worked up until age 70. The person could have retired at 62 and drawn from other retirement benefits to be able to do this. The benefit with Social Security is it's not 100% taxable in any situation, and it does have a cost of living adjustment. Let's take a look at the next slide. This next slide is reflecting the starts of, there's one line up here that I think is the pink line. That was for the individual that started at age 62. And if that person got up to age into their 80s or 90s, you can see that's the lowest line on the chart. Whereas the The other line is, there's a very light shaded line, but it's down there started at 69.70. And you can see that those lines go up and become the higher lines. The point for economists and nerds like me, well, where is the break-even point? And you can see that all these lines cross in the low to mid 80s right there. That's the average life expectancy for an individual in the United States. This is a demonstration of the actuarial calculations that have been made, that where the Social Security Administration says that for the person with an average life expectancy, it doesn't make any difference when they start, they're going to receive the same benefits. And this basically is a chart that I developed, and to me, it demonstrated that actuarially, they're correct for an individual, and for an individual with an average life expectancy. Well, I'll tell you, I expect to go beyond the average life expectancy. So I'm looking to try to maximize my benefits. And if I go over here to the upper 80s or the, approaching 90, that age 70 begins to look a lot better. And I'm trying to combat the one fear is to run out of benefits by living longer. The next slide. This is a chart that's kind of representative of what we saw. I used the primary insurance amount. That was a full retirement age benefit of $2,000 and with a 2.6% COLA. And this shows 3 individuals. I got Bob and Betty and Bill starting to collect benefits. And then I show the cumulative total of those benefits over the years. Bob started at 62, Betty started in 60 when she was 66, and Bill out here delayed to age 70. And so you can see as you go down this chart that once they get past a certain age, for instance, at age 75, for all three were born at the same time, that by age 75, Betty's income surpassed the total benefit received by Bob. It took Bill a little bit longer, but by the time he got to his upper 70s, his income was exceeding everybody. I take that back, down to 80. He had to get to 80 to have more income than Betty or Bob. This is just basically a validation of what the chart that we saw before. And so if you get the idea, the most significant factor in determining when to start is your life expectancy. So given that, that's a big factor. I have talked to a number of people that have medical issues, and they don't expect to live past 60 or 70 or 80. My brother-in-law, same age as I, has said he didn't expect to live this long. His family has a history of cancer, but through new medicines, et cetera, he's lived. He says he's lived far beyond what he expected. Next slide. Let me talk. Up to now, we've talked about an individual's benefits only. Here, we're going to talk about a spousal benefit. Now, one of the things that I didn't realize when I was approaching retirement and started asking questions is a spouse may be a stay-at-home mom for her whole lifetime, and she would still have a spousal benefit had she been married for 10 years or more. She, when reaches her full retirement age, she can have a benefit equal to half of her spouse's benefit, spouse's full-time benefit. So that her husband was receiving at full retirement age, was receiving $2,000. She reached full retirement age, she could expect a benefit of $1,000. And basically, that's just the spousal benefit that she earns by being married 10 years. So let me go through the table here. The benefit generated by his or her own benefits or half of his or her spouse's full retirement benefit, which could actually be made up of her personal benefit plus the difference to make up the benefit to up to half of her primary wage earner. What that means is if she had earned a benefit of say $800, but she had a spousal benefit potential of $1,000, technically she would be receiving $800 personal benefit and $200 of spousal benefit to give her a total benefit of $1,000. Again, the monthly benefit is reduced if it's taken prior to full retirement age, but there is no benefit for delaying spousal benefits. She must wait until the spouse has started taking benefits before an individual can receive benefits. There's a lot of caveats in this thing because who is the primary wage earner? Delaying those benefits, starting early compared to the spouse taking early or late benefits. There are different adjustment tables for spousal benefits and primary wage earner benefits just to complicate the issue. We'll go on to the next slide. Here's an example. John, born 1950, has a primary insurance amount of $2,000. He's going to wait to 66 or later to start. Mary will start at 62 with her personal benefits would be reduced to $600 a month. But after her husband starts, she doesn't get any spousal benefits at that time. But once her husband starts, Mary can then file for her spousal benefits, and she would collect at that time an additional $200 to make up the difference between her primary amount of $800 and half of the $2,000. The numbers, I'm a numbers geek. These all start to make sense after a while, but these numbers are confusing. The calculations between all the adjustments can be very complex. Let's go on to the next slide. Taking benefits early versus taking them late. Receiving a personal or spousal benefit prior to your full retirement age will result in a permanent reduced benefit. Collecting delayed retirement credits, this is starting personal benefits after one's full retirement age, will increase the benefits 2/3 of 1% for each month delayed. Again, I mentioned that no delayed retirement credits are available for spousal or survivor benefits. The next slide. Working in retirement. While receiving Social Security benefits prior to your full retirement age, you can have your benefits reduced. I've talked to any number of people that start retirement and they have an opportunity to go back to work, and they say, well, no, I don't want to go back to work because if I make too much, they'll take my benefits away and I don't want to lose any. Well, let's go through this. At age 62, if you start your Social Security and you go over there's a threshold, you go over the threshold of $18,960, for every dollar over that, for every $2 over that, your benefit will be reduced by $1. You may not, you won't see that happening necessarily during the year, but your benefits the following year will be adjusted to take that money out. Once you reach full retirement age, or the year of your full retirement age, and let's say that you were born in February, in those first 2 months, in the year that you reach full retirement age, you're going to have for every $3, your benefit will be reduced by $1 above $50,000. And that happens up until March. Once you reach your birthday, or you reach up to your full retirement age, there's no reduction of benefits. That was under Clinton, that was passed in the late 1900s, that there's no reduction. One of the things that that we're proposing, or that I'm going to be working with, is why don't we reduce that altogether? People say that they think they're going to be losing their benefits. In actuality, they don't lose them. They're going to get paid back for them. An example might be if you worked for several years between 62 and your full retirement age, and they reduced your benefits by, let's say, $20,000 over that period of time. Within an 8-year period, they will increase your benefit at full retirement age so that you recover that, but it takes 6 to 8 years to recover what they took away, but it will be replaced. It's not totally lost. We can go on to the next slide. Survivor's benefits, married or divorced. A surviving wife or husband is eligible to receive the higher of his or her own benefit or that of the deceased spouse. However, it will not be less than 82% of the primary wage earner's benefits. There's a number of calculations that determine that. Monthly benefit is adjusted down if it's taken prior to full retirement age of the surviving spouse. And it can be taken as early as age 60 or earlier with dependent children. And actually, that goes down to age 50 with dependent children. The calculations that go into this and the questions related to now this creates, once you involve these calculations and spousal benefits calculations, create a scenario of, well, when should the lower income workers start? When should the higher income workers start? And there's a whole paradigm of calculations that go into determining that, because there's several different options that may come out. Let's go on to the next slide. Additional options. A survivor 60 years or older and under his or her full retirement can collect a reduced survivor's benefit immediately and then have the ability to switch to personal retirement benefits at a future date. For instance, let's say that two wage earners, they had the same income. Let's say it's $2,000 a month. They would have the potential of a $2,000 a month benefit. The primary or one of the wage earners passes away. Well, the survivor can take an early survivor benefits at 60 and collect that until they reach age 70, and then start their own personal benefit that would have been increased by 32%. Just lots of different options are available. Second bullet point there, a survivor 62 or older can continue to collect or receive personal benefits and then switch to an unreduced survivor's benefits at full retirement age. Again, the options are numerous. The calculations are, you almost want to sit down in front of a Social Security representative and go through the options when you're a survivor. Let's go on to the next page. Spousal benefits for divorced individuals. For a divorced individual to receive spousal benefits, he or she must have been married for at least 10 years, divorced for 2, and is currently unmarried. The ex-spouse is at least age 62, the deceased spouse. The benefit amount will be equal to half of his or own spouse's full retirement benefit, made up of a personal benefit plus the difference to make up half of the primary wage earner's benefit. Spousal benefits will have no effect on the benefits of the ex-spouse or their current spouse. So I create the example that an individual can be married for 10 years, divorced, married a second wife or spouse for 10 years, have a third spouse, married for 10 years. All 3 ex-spouses or spouses can receive benefits based upon that person's earnings. It will have no effect on that one spouse. Bottom line, monthly benefit will reduced if it's taken prior to full retirement age. Next page. I've gone through very quickly on all of this, and I, open for questions now or in the future. I might follow up and just say all the calculations, all the different scenarios. The crunching is complex, and I would say that 99% of people would need some help at coaching as to get through all of the different scenarios to determine what's best for themselves. Oftentimes, the difference between making the worst decisions to the best case solution, the best options for an individual, can be over $250,000 in your lifetime. That's for a couple.
So I'm 44, so I have a ways to go, and who knows what the world will be like when I'm there. But it causes me to think, if my health is in pretty good shape and I have expectation that I'll make it past that 80 number, that I should really do my best to have survival income to try to delay as much as I can to make the biggest impact long term, similar to what you're doing yourself.
Yeah. In the next session, I'll get into more of this, and I think I'll have a number of case studies. But just for an average couple, even with average life expectancy, often the best scenario is for the primary wage earner. This is not the older; it's the one with that's going to have the greater benefit, to take the greater benefit as late as possible with all the delayed retirement credits. And then for the spouse that has the lower benefit, oftentimes to take that benefit early, because when the first one passes away, the benefit left is going to be the higher benefit. The lower benefit disappears, the higher benefit remains. So the old school of thought was the husband say, well, my life expectancy, I've worked hard and my body's taking a beating, I'm going to take my benefit early. And then the spouse to say, well, I'll take mine at full retirement age. I'm going to live longer. I want a bigger benefit. Well, the bigger benefit for her would have been her spouse's benefit when he passes away. And that oftentimes the primary wage earner starting early with the larger benefit has reduced the survivor's benefit by up to 50%. And this part of what got me started into it was a study that was done by Alicia Manel in Boston College, and said that that men were cheating their wives, kind of a little play on cheating on their wives, but by taking an early small benefit, that deprived their spouse of a much higher benefit when he passed away. I mean, almost twice it could have had a benefit almost double, which is unfortunate. So that first study that occurred 12, 15 years ago just has started all of this ramifications and calculating what's the optimum way to take benefits in Social Security. Well, we might just talk a little about what they can see, what they might get out of the second session. One, talk about I will do a number of case studies, I think, just a husband and wife, realizing that you have an option to take benefits at 62 and each and every month up to age 70. So here you have 96 options. Your spouse will also have 96 options. You multiply those together and you go, okay, wait a minute. Now we're getting into the tens of thousands of scenarios. But there's many calculators out there. The one that I've written that for an insurance company back east, we look at 9 different scenarios. The husband taking benefits between 62, full retirement age, and 70, as compared to the spouse taking their benefits at 62, full retirement at 70. And that gives you the cadre of 3x3 options, 9 different options, plus there's some other nuances. So the program typically shows you 12 different scenarios. But again, the most important factor in all of that is your life expectancy. And I think that many of us baby boomers are going to blow away the tables. In contrast to my parents, my family and myself, we've had health care and a good health care policy with my employer Hallmark cards. And in retirement, I tend to take care of my body. I have an annual physical. I know what killed my parents, and I avoid that. Just the amount of medical care. If you're educated and take care of your body and understand the consequences of smoking and drinking, etc., we're going to blow away the life expectancy tables. There are very few calculators on the internet today to calculate your life expectancy, but when they've been around, I've gone through them with myself and my wife, and both of our numbers are in the 90s. So we try to optimize our Social Security benefits, in part because they do have a cost of living adjustment and because they're not fully taxable in the worst case scenario. And in the best case scenario, you can reduce your taxes significantly with different retirement distributions. And we'll talk about all these things in the second session.
Well, Ken, we're so grateful for you and all the time and hard work and energy you put into preparing for today's presentation and the time you've devoted with us today. So thank you so very much. We're so grateful for you, and we're thankful for everyone who's joined us today. And like I said, if you've not already signed up for the April 13th, part 2 of Ken's presentation, please sign up. And thank you again. We hope you have a wonderful day.